Well, if you've been watching this channel for any amount of time, you'll know that I've been very excited for Epic Universe, been watching the construction of this park for years now, and I've been eagerly anticipating when this park is going to open. And to our surprise, we were able to go to Epic Universe just last weekend. And so in this video, I'm going to give my first impressions from a first-hand perspective of what Epic Universe is like. Does it live up to the hype? Are there things that need to be improved upon? And do I want to go back? So we're going to talk about this video today. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic, and I will say this is going to be a spoiler-free first impressions of Epic Universe, of my first thoughts going there, especially somebody who'd watched the construction for years. Did it live up to the hype? Was it everything I was hoping it was going to be? Things like that. So I'm not going to give any details or ruin anything for attractions for people because I would not want to do that. So this is just going to be mostly, general descriptions of things and just my first impressions of everything of this park. The backstory of this, my wife and I were invited to come out, not as part of media, but we just happened to be there the same day that the media preview day was. And we were fully prepared to not say a word about it because, Universal had changed their policy of not only you can't take pictures and photos or videos, but also that you couldn't really talk about it after the fact. So I was fully prepared to just experience this without any phone, without any pictures, and just really take this park in, which I was actually looking forward to doing on some level, is not having to be tied to a phone. I was kind of looking forward to that. And we got there on the preview morning, and we're in front of the Chronos. We hadn't entered the park yet. I was just kind of still taking it all in, driving up, going through the parking process. Like, it was interesting, being on the ground level of things I had seen from above and all the construction photos for years. And so we're standing there before we go in, and there's a crowd forming, but it's not like insane. And the main security guard stands up and just says, "Take all the photos and videos you want." And everyone was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yep, share away, take all the photos and videos you want." I was definitely caught off guard by that because I didn't have anything with me other than my phone to be able to capture video or pictures or anything like that. They lifted it, relaxed the policy that day. I'm assuming because the media was there, but since that day, they have also relaxed that policy where you now can take pictures inside of Epic Universe. That was a surprise. So right off the bat, I was just like, oh, this is totally different than what I expected. So we're taking pictures. They had not PhotoPass, but the Universal photographers that take pictures. They'll take pictures in front of each portal. I don't think they had anybody in front of the Chronos on the outside of the park, but I think once you're inside the park, there were opportunities to get pictures in front of the Luna statue and things like that. But we go into the park, and I will just say the scale of everything, I knew it was going to be big, but it was even bigger than I anticipated it being, like the size of the portals. And when you walk in, I loved the visuals and the sight lines of being able to, like, as soon as you walk in, you see, the Luna statues right there. You see Helios in the background, and you just get this, it's almost like just a teaser picture of when you walk in of just all this stuff awaiting you. So that was my first impression right off the bat, was the visuals of the sightlines of the park walking in. I thought were very good. I was very impressed by that. So when you walk in, you've got a choice between going left or right. If you go to the left, you've got Super Mario World or Super Nintendo World, and then you have Dark Universe. If you go to the right, you got Ministry of Magic, and you've got Isle of Berk, and then in the center, obviously, you have Celestial Park. So when we got there, it was before the park opened, so we lined up to go to Super Nintendo World because that's the land I've been looking the most forward to for years now. And once they let us in actually a little earlier than the park opened. I think it's supposed to open at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. And I think we got let in past where they were having like the rope dropping around like 9:45, 9:50. So we were able to get into Super Nintendo World. And I know some people said I was going to be disappointed by it. They didn't think that, because this is a known commodity that was, in Hollywood, not Japan. But I absolutely loved it. It was amazing walking into the first time I've ever walked into a Super Nintendo World. It was my childhood come to life as I'm almost like in a video game. I could have stood there and just took it all in for a while, which is one of the first things I will say is the main thing about this park is you just want to come back. And I'll talk about more of that in a minute, but you feel like you just can't do it all almost, at least the time we were there in one day. But it took a little time to look around, get my bearings, and first thing we end up doing was Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, which that queue alone, if you're a Nintendo fan or a Mario Kart fan, is worth it alone. That queue is fantastic. And I would just say the scale, the detail in all the queues is very, very impressive. Like everything Universal has learned since they've done the Wizarding Worlds, they have applied into this park. I'm sure there's things I'm going to look at and say, oh, this can be improved upon, or this, certain aspects. But just as the first impression, the queue was from top to bottom themed out. I mean, every little thing you go through Bowser's library. So the queue alone, I was super happy with. And again, if you like Mario Kart, you will like every part of this. The ride itself, I thought was fun. It had repeatability. I'm competitive. I like things like that, so you can always try and get another high score. And having played Mario Kart a lot, it was not a perfect ride. I mean, it was one of the things like it's got the AR goggles you put on and things like that. So I thought for everything I assumed about this, which was it was going to be an okay ride, I was actually pretty impressed with it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Not the best ride I've ever ridden by any means, but it was enjoyable. I enjoyed my time. In fact, I rode it twice that day because I did enjoy it. And the second time, there was basically a walk-on. So enjoyed that. The queue, though, especially, is really great on there. So then after that, we went ahead and went into Donkey Kong Country because the crowds weren't bad our day. I think the highest wait times the entire day we were there was about 45 minutes. So it wasn't terrible on really anything. And Minecart Madness does tend to have, at least at this point, reliability issues. So we just want to try and do that first. And we were in line for it. It did go down for about 15 minutes, but came back online. So we were able to ride it. But Donkey Kong Country itself I loved it. As a Donkey Kong fan growing up, it was, looking at the concept art, looking at the construction photos, like I knew what to expect, but it was very well done. The scale, again, was massive. Not a huge land, but very, pays a lot of homage to Donkey Kong, obviously, and a lot of the details in there. Little side games you can play. If you get a power-up band, it unlocks a lot of things in Super Nintendo World and Donkey Kong Country, which you could spend hours doing, which is one reason I want to go back when we go with our kids, because I think we'll spend hours just going through all the side quests you can do, much like a video game, so I very much appreciate that. But Minecart Madness, I've been very curious about this ride. I know from the POV footage that got out months ago that some people were very critical of this. I thought the queue itself is well done, not as well themed as Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, but it was well done, like you're going through, a temple. But it did have some Donkey Kong, characters in there. The ride itself was more thrilling than I was anticipating. It has a little bit more speed to it than maybe the POVs sort of make it feel like, which is what I expected. I did expect this to be more thrilling than what the POVs were showing and what people were talking about in there. I enjoyed it a lot. It's not a very long ride, but it is pretty fun. It's kind of thrilling. It's very similar to a Slinky Dog Dash of types, if you know about that roller coaster over in Disney World. Had a great time, but I'm a Donkey Kong fan. My wife enjoyed it as well. Most kids would probably enjoy it as well. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. Did get a soft serve ice cream that they had there. There was a banana flavored. I forget what it was called, but it was very good. In fact, I got you can see the Donkey Kong mug behind me is what I got served in. And that's mainly I wanted the mug, but it was the same price for the ice cream. So I just went ahead and got the ice cream with it. And I also got a Mario Kart popcorn bucket because that's one I'd been eyeing for a while. Plenty of merchandise opportunities all throughout both of these. Now, Funky's Flying By is not very big. It's just a little step up. It doesn't really go deep in there. So there's not as much stuff in Donkey Kong Country to purchase. But in Super Nintendo World itself, there are plenty of places you can buy things. And then also in the shops that are in Celestial Park, they also have every portal or every land has merchandise in there. So if you do forget something when you're in a land here, you can find it somewhere in this park. So they have plenty of merchandise opportunities that you can take advantage of. And we also, while we were there, I was surprised by this, but Mario and Luigi came out, got to meet them. I know not Peach. Peach wasn't showing that day, but Toadstool was. We didn't get a picture with him, but he did come out for a little bit and sort of danced around, took a couple of pictures. So the meet and greets were going. They were talking as well. So that was something that was pretty cool. And also while we were in Super Nintendo World, we went and ate at Toadstool Cafe. Been very much looking forward to trying this out. I'm not going to ruin anything about what the inside of it. It is very, very well themed. Lots of room. The chairs are even themed. That's the thing that stuck out to me was a lot of the details. Chairs in all the restaurants were all themed above and beyond. Like they didn't have to do that. Like I would assume if that wasn't done, I don't know if anybody would have complained about that. But the fact that even chairs were themed to this detail, not only here but in other lands as well, was a little touch I was very impressed by. There's screens in here, and there is a story element that happens if you sit there long enough as well. Food-wise, I got a burger, and we got the tiramisu. The burger was fine. It wasn't the greatest thing I've ever had, but it wasn't dry. It was, I would say your pretty average theme park burger. Did get a little Mario hat on it, and then the tiramisu is in the shape of the question the question box of Nintendo, and it was fine. It was very coffee heavy, which it's tiramisu. But I would get it again. But it was solid. So nothing in here was like the most amazing thing that I've ever had. But the theming of the food, the theming of the restaurant, the atmosphere, I was very impressed with. And I do want to try other items here. But the restaurant itself is very, very Nintendo. And I enjoyed it a lot in there. And it's very big. It's much bigger than it looks like from the outside, for sure. So I think a lot of people may be shocked when you go in there how big that dining area really is. And there's multiple sections to it as well. We also did Yoshi's Adventure while we were there. That one was about a 30-minute wait. But that ride, I mean, if you've got kids, they'll love it. It's a cute little slow Omnimover ride. If you played Yoshi's Island, the queue in there is very much like Yoshi's Island. It does have some interactivity when you're in the queue. You can use your power-up band and do some different things in there. But it's one that I probably wouldn't wait longer than 45 minutes for that. I think I would find pockets of lower wait times. But it should move rather quickly. It has a pretty high ride capacity, and it's an Omnimover, so as long as it doesn't shut down, it should move people through it pretty quickly. And, I would just say I loved Super Nintendo World. I thought it was great. It lived up to my expectations. I want to go back because in fact, the whole park, I felt like I barely scratched the surface of everything we did because the whole day we were just going until park closed, which is at 7 o'clock. We were just on the go the entire time trying to get as much stuff done as we could. So we left Super Nintendo World, went into Dark Universe. It is a very, very well done land. Very spooky when you walk in. Lots of fog effects. The buildings literally look like something out of the 1800s. Even the ones that are a gift shop or a restaurant or something else, they blend in. There are some shops in there that are just, for looks only. And sometimes it's kind of hard to tell. And they blend it in very, very well. It makes it seem like a small village before you come up to the manor. And I enjoyed that. They had some characters. We didn't see Igor, but they do have some characters roaming around. We saw the Invisible Man. We had a meet and greet with Bride of Frankenstein and Frankenstein. I will say that one is very, very good. I was very impressed with the meet and greets overall in this park, and I think that's something Universal is going to, do more of, and that's something they're not really known for, but I think the meet and greets in this park are pretty fantastic, and we'll go over some of the other ones as well. But so going in, then we went and rode Monsters Unchained. Not going to ruin anything about that. All I'm going to say is all the reviews that you've seen, we had a video talking about some of the reviews, if it was going to live up to the hype. It does. It is, my main word I came out of that was that this ride is bonkers. The scale of it, the immersiveness of it, the animatronics. It is a great blend of animatronics and screens, and the screens are super, super high def, kind of like Bourne Stunt Show Spectacular, how clear those screens are. These are basically the same type of screens in here. It was great. I loved it. I want to do it again because I feel like I wasn't able to take in everything the whole time because I was just so mesmerized by what was going on around me, the scale of it all. Like I was just looking around. It does live up to the hype. I'd say the best dark ride I've ever ridden. It's Forbidden Journey on steroids. And if you're worried about motion sickness, it could be an issue. My wife gets really bad motion sickness, so she did take some medicine before she rode it, but she did say it wasn't near as bad as Forbidden Journey because Forbidden Journey has much more screens involved, and you can definitely tell those are screens. These, it's not the same type of screens, and so I think if you have motion sickness issues, taking medicine on this will help. But my wife, who has really, really bad motion sickness, she was okay after it. She said, she wouldn't ride it 2 times in a row, but she was okay the rest of the day. So I think she's a pretty good barometer on motion sickness issues. So I will say that. And it's much smoother, and the seats are much more accommodating. So for me, like I kind of have a bigger chest. On Forbidden Journey, when they pull over the harnesses, it always feels very, very snug on my chest, and I just don't like that feeling of being like constrained like that. These, you feel secure, but they're not as tight. And I do know the middle seats are more accommodating for the bigger folks out there. So it is much more accommodating for different sizes as well. So I think that was a good addition or a good upgrade to this type of ride system because it is the same ride system as Forbidden Journey, but it is an upgraded one. And you can tell that in this ride. And the queue for Monsters Unchained was fantastic. Has, those pulsating electricity going on. Tons of touches and details in there, and the queue does tell the story about like what kind of what's going on here, and then by the time you get in the pre-show, you have a really good idea of like where everything's at, how this is all setting up, and then the pre-show starts telling the story about what the ride is. So it does have a story to it. It kind of culminates all the monsters together, and very well done. All the reviews completely agree. It's a fantastic ride. Then after that, we didn't do Curse of the Werewolf because again, my wife has motion sickness issues, and I was just like, okay, we'll skip. I'll ride that some other time because it does spin, but we did not do that one. We walked around. We took a peek inside of a Burning Blade Tavern. We did see the windmill catch on fire. The tavern is very cool. It's very much Hogshead that's in Hogsmeade, but much bigger in scale. That bar looks almost exactly the same design of it, but it's just much larger inside. It looks like an 1800s tavern. It really does. Had a cool atmosphere. A lot of people were in there getting some drinks, hanging out, and then they have the food's off to the side, and then you can get seating outside, or you can eat inside as well. But it did have a really cool atmosphere. And then after that, we kind of walked around a little bit. But again, we were so trying to get everything done, we didn't spend as much time in here as we wanted to. And again, I want to see this land at night. As cool as it was during the daytime, I just feel like this land, especially after seeing it in person, is a land that is meant to be experienced at night. And we also took a peek inside of Das Steakhouse. We didn't eat in here, but looked around. It's very, very similar to the concept art. The picture that they showed of sort of this, one of the concept arts, like this red picture with all this stuff going on, it's actually a painting in the restaurant. So I don't know if that was fooling anybody or not, but I thought that was kind of funny that some of the concept art there was actually just of a painting going on. But again, in here, the chairs were themed to very much like a Dracula vampire style place. Theming wise was on point. I heard from many people that the food here was very good, and that's one thing I want to go back and try is more food. So I didn't get to try anything here, but the atmosphere is very dark, very much felt like vampires were around, very menacing in a way, but not too much, but it wasn't like scary for kids or anything like that. But it was very good atmosphere. And again, like I said, the detail work in here and all over the place was very, very well done. So after this, we walked around a little bit in Celestial Park, kind of midday. I will say I know there's been some complaints on sight lines in this park. And I've said before, Universal's never really been about sight lines as much as say like Disney has. And for me, I don't think I've ever actually talked about sight lines in any of my videos. It's something that is inevitable on some level that you're going to be able to see some stuff, typically speaking, for the most part. So it wasn't, I've heard some people talk about when you're in Celestial Park, you can see into other lands, but I actually kind of like that. You can see landmarks beyond the portals. And for me, I thought that was kind of a cool thing. You just look around Celestial Park and there's just so many sight lines that you can see. Then you got Helios right there. And when you're in the lands, you can see Helios from the lands and you can see some other landmarks and things like that. But for me, it didn't ruin my experience. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But again, I'm not really big on sight lines. I never really have been. And I don't know how much Universal is. That's not something they've really done, like I said. So I don't feel like that's something they're really concentrating on when they're creating these lands and these portals and things like that. So then after that, we went into Ministry of Magic. Again, the scale of this, like we have known from what Universal has said, is the shortest building in Ministry of Magic is taller than the tallest building in Diagon Alley, I think is what they had said. The scale of this is very impressive. It feels like you are literally walking the streets of a city. I mean, I feel like I was in 1920s Paris. And the theming details of you've got the little side areas you can go into was very, very well done. We did get a bite to eat in here. We went to the La Serene Cafe. I forget the name off the top of my head. We had the butterbeer crepe and some butterbeer. Both very good. The crepe was excellent. I would get it again and again. It was you could share it as well. It was very big and filling. Butterbeer, of course, is always good. And the restaurant inside, again, was massive. The ceilings had to be 20 feet tall ceilings, if not higher. Very much felt like you were in a French cafe. It's very much, it's like you basically order on the app, you sit at your table, you say what table you're at, and they bring your food to you. So it's more of a casual dining, but it had a more elegant, fancier feel to it. But again, just the detail and the scale of it all, I was again very, very impressed with it. So wait there. We actually couldn't go check out Battle at the Ministry, even the queue. So previously, even though Battle at the Ministry has not been available to ride, guests during previews have been able to go into the queue and check that out. Well, we couldn't because media was there that day and they were getting to go in there and actually ride the ride. So unfortunately, couldn't even experience the queue there. So that was a little bit of a bummer. So we didn't spend a ton of time in Ministry of Magic just for that reason. And at that point, we were still trying to figure out how much time we had left to get everything done. So we walked around a little bit more. We did check out some stuff. We missed the show in here. That's something I have to go back and do. We missed it by like 30 minutes when we got there. And I think the next show was like an hour and a half later. So we didn't get the show in there. But the land itself, from the little time we spent in there, I was very impressed with the scaling and the detail. And I definitely want to go back and check out more. So then after that, we went into Isle of Berk. And I will say, I kind of thought this beforehand, but the first impression that you get when you walk in there may be the best one in the entire park. When you walk in, you just see those two dragon statues. The fire wasn't running when we were there, but they are supposed to have fire, so maybe they come out more toward the evening time. There's just so much going on. You got Hiccup's wing gliders going on. You can see stuff going on all around you. There's dragons moving everywhere. It was a very, very well done land. It felt like a lived-in land, like you were just visiting a village that happened to have Vikings and dragons there, which is exactly what they described it as. We also missed the show here because we went and did Dragon Racers Rally when we first got in. That ride, it's okay. It's not a bad ride, but it is a very slow loading attraction, and it doesn't have a high ride capacity, and it's not going to be part of Express Pass. So I would say, if you're wanting to ride this, this is one where I would say I would not wait longer than 45 minutes for this. So if you're there when the park is open and you do want to ride it, you might be able to find little pockets to ride it where it's less wait times, because it doesn't move quickly, and I just don't think it would be worth more than a 45-minute wait, if even 45 minutes, personally speaking for me. But it goes around like 5 times. Goes kind of high. Kids can enjoy it. You can make it more intense by moving the dragons, making them twirl and things like that. But that was just my impressions of that ride in general. Then after that, we tried to go do the Untrainable Dragon. We missed that show by, I think we missed it by like 10 minutes. So we didn't get to do that one. And then at that point, we went and rode Hiccup's wing gliders, which I referred to this ride as Baby Hagrid's. It's made by the same ride manufacturer as Hagrid's. This was a very, very fun ride. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Very similar in its intensity of Slinky Dog Dash, but I think it's a little bit more intense, a little bit faster. And it does have the story elements with it. So again, just like Hagrid's, but I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's going to be a sleeper pick of a lot of people's, maybe not their favorite ride, but up there in terms of the better rides in the park. I've kind of felt like that would be the whole idea behind it all along. And after riding it, I think that will be the case. Very well themed, the queue and everything like that. So I think this one will probably get some pretty high wait times once, people kind of get word of mouth about it. And, kids and families can ride this as well. So we didn't do fire drill, didn't feel like getting wet, but that one was basically a walk on most of the day, but did get some views of that. We got some merchandise here. We walked around the shops and the restaurant. Mead Hall was really, really well themed. It looked like Game of Thrones type of place you would see in there when you go in there. So I felt like the theming of there was great. And just seeing, that was one of the things I always saw in the construction was Mead Hall and everything going on with that. The visuals in the land are fantastic. You got lots of dragon tails, animatronic ones. Dragons are in queues, like sleeping, doing other things. Sheep are around. So there's tons of, just, I guess you could say, kinetic energy of the dragons are around all the time. And then we went over and did the Toothless meet and greet. And I will say, the Toothless meet and greet perhaps is the best meet and greet I've ever done. It is very, very, very good. And kids will love it. It does give you those moments that Universal really hasn't had before of you're reenacting a moment from a movie when you touch his nose. Everybody gets to do that, and you get a picture and everything like that. Astrid and Hiccup, the people they have playing them, are fantastic. The guy playing Hiccup sounds just like him in the movies. I haven't seen anybody else play Hiccup than the one that's been, you probably maybe have seen in other footage and like in TikToks and Reels and things. He sounds legitimately just like him, looks a lot like him from the movie. Both of them were very, very good. And this meet and greet is going to be very, very popular. It is kind of slow moving. We were in line probably for almost like 45 minutes, and it wasn't a deep line when we got into it. So they do take your time, interact with the character. So they take their time with it, but it's also a meet and greet where that thing can basically run all day because Toothless is animatronic and the characters around them are, they're not in costume in terms of like a full suit like other things. So they can be out there longer, so they don't have to take those 20, 30-minute breaks sometimes that you get with some character meet and greets. So this could run most of the time all day long. So if this is a long line, you might find, maybe come back to it later on because at least for us, it did move super quick. But it's a very, very cute meet and greet. I want our kids to do it. They will absolutely love it. And it's one of the bright spots of the entire land. And there's also some storytellers that are in there. We didn't get to do everything in here because, again, by the point we were in here, park closed at 7. It was almost 6 o'clock. So we still wanted to go do stuff in Celestial Park. So we were, again, just trying to do as much stuff as we could do. So we missed some of the storytellers, and there is a baby dragon that is robotic that moves around. We didn't get to see it in person, but the footage I saw of it looked very cute, looked very good. So there's other things to check out in here. It's a very huge land. It's the largest land in the entire park. So there's plenty of places to explore, plenty of little extra things, nooks and crannies you can find in there. So I was very impressed with the Isle of Berk, and I assumed I would enjoy that land quite a bit. But just seeing it in person, I really did enjoy. Just it felt like a Viking village. But we also didn't do a Viking training camp because our kids weren't with us. But that will be a place we will check out when our kids are with us for sure, because that looked like a lot of fun. If you're a kid in there, you'd have a blast in the Viking training camp. So after this, like I said, it was almost 6 o'clock. We went into Celestial Park. We didn't ride Stardust Racers. I'm not a roller coaster person. My wife, with the motion sickness, she's like, I don't think I'm going to ride it. So we didn't ride Stardust Racers. We did go do Constellation Carousel. Very cute carousel, very unique. It's almost more like dancing on a platform. I want to see this at night. I want to see the entire park at night, but this ride in particular, I think at night would look gorgeous. On the ceiling, you've got the constellations that you can see, and it has different music when you're riding it, and sometimes they go in reverse, sometimes they go forward, so it's got different elements to it. It's not the same ride every single time, but this one's typically a pretty low wait time, at least for us. It was basically like a 5-minute wait, so I think this is one where you can fit into your day pretty easily, but I would try and ride this more toward the evening and at night because I think it'll be a better experience, or just a different experience, but thoroughly enjoyed Constellation Carousel. Then after that, it was almost like 6:30, and that's when we had until 7 o'clock, and I was like, well, I don't want to leave early, so I went back into Super Nintendo World, get some more pictures, and Mario Kart was basically a walk-on, so I went in and did that again. Got a higher score the second time, kind of figured it out a little bit, and got some more pictures, did a little bit more of the interactivity elements with the power-up band, because we did get a power-up band while we were there, and did that, and thoroughly, as much as I got to do Super Nintendo World, thoroughly enjoyed it. And all in all, by the end of the day, I mean, literally it felt like we scratched the surface. We were just going, trying to get as much stuff done as we could. And like I said earlier, the first thing I wanted to do was like, I just want to go back. And I've heard that from many people saying, I just, all I wanted to do is go back. And I will say, from experiencing it that way, I do think this is a 2-day park. You could ride everything in a single day. I don't think that will be probably much of an issue for many people. But in these lands, there's so many extra little things to do with the shows and the details and the meet and greets. Obviously, you can go get food in here, look at the merchandise. And I really like going into lands and really exploring them more, seeing all the Easter eggs and things like that, especially like Super Nintendo World. And I think Isle of Berk will have a ton of that as well. So you could ride every ride in a single day, but I think you will feel like me and how we felt, which is just like we barely scratched the surface and didn't really get to, check out everything. So obviously closing at 7, we didn't get to experience this park at night. So that's one thing I want to do when I go back is experience this park at night, because that's something I've been very looking forward to. But my first impressions were I was just very impressed with the park. It's a very well done park. I mean, it met my expectations, and I've known what to expect about it. And you think, watching the construction, so it wasn't like anything was vastly different than what I was expecting. I will say the walkways are very, very wide. It's definitely built much wider and more room to walk around. I think that's a great thing for potential crowds. The portals themselves, I thought that was a very cool element to go to these portals. And, there's a picture opportunity right there. So you've got to, kind of like taking your picture in front of the castle at Disney World, like taking your picture in front of these portals is a cool picture to have. And then going into them, it does a very good job of, immersing you into the land you're about to go into, because the music slowly fades louder. And then they have the LED screens that have sort of the, the graphics of walking in. It does a very good job of just, like you're going through a portal to another time period, another, place. And I think in terms of immersing you into a land, that does a very good job. I am curious when the park is at full capacity, how the park flow will be with that setup with the portals. Again, when we were there, it wasn't insanely busy. I think, like I said, 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes was the longest wait time we saw all day long. We personally didn't wait any longer than like 30 minutes for an attraction. I think we actually waited longer in the meet and greet for Toothless than we did for any of the actual rides themselves. I shouldn't say that. Hiccups Wing Gliders, we probably waited about 45 minutes. What I really want to do is get a drink and just sit in Celestial Park in the evening and just take it all in. That's something because I love the idea that there's this sort of oasis in the middle of the park where you can just chill out and relax. There is the seating around the fountain. The fountain was going, but you couldn't go down there. Tons of seating all over Celestial Park. There is shade, and I have heard some people say there's not a ton of shade. There will be, because as those trees grow up and get bigger, there will be a lot more shade that's in Celestial Park. But there's still shaded areas. But, this summer and maybe next summer, the sun will be very hot in certain areas. Like Super Nintendo World does not have a lot of shade. Dark Universe has more for sure, has a lot more trees in there. But as this park, matures and those trees grow up a lot more, I do think this park will have a lot more shade, because we do know Universal has said they want to bring the park back into theme park. I think they very much are doing that. I think in the short term, that could be a complaint about this park. Obviously, but it's Florida. Like, every park's going to be hot, but there will be more shade going forward. And after being here, I'm also convinced that Zelda is going to be coming to Epic Universe in the future, because the Superstar store that is a Nintendo store outside of Super Nintendo World, there is Zelda all over that store. I just don't think they put that much Zelda in there if they don't have plans to put Zelda in this park. So after seeing that, I did a video talking about that from some people that said they didn't have any photo evidence at the time. But after seeing it, I definitely think Zelda's coming. We'll see what they announce eventually, but I think if it's not coming, I'd be surprised, because he is all over that gift shop. But that gift shop is very well done. Actually, all the gift shops, all the stores, everything like that, the theming in them is above and beyond what you would normally expect, I think. I thought it was very, very well done. Like I said, the details of this park, I feel like were very, very well done. Very impressed by that. A lot of the things you can't really see in the construction photos, but just the theming elements, the things up close. I didn't see anything that stuck out to me as like, ooh, that's bad. Another con you could say is it's unknown at this point what the park looks like when it's fully open at full capacity, whatever that capacity is. Given that it's 11 attractions and 2 shows, this could become a high wait time park. It could, depending on a lot of elements, which are unknown at this point, if what the park capacity is going to be, what the average wait times are, things like that. So this park is going to expand and add more attractions and more areas, into the future. But if this park is, let's say, 60,000 guests in here, you're going to be waiting a while on a lot of these rides. Battle of the Ministry was built for, I believe, a 7 or 8 hour queue. Not that they would be expecting that all the time, but that queue is it's rather large from what I've heard. Again, I haven't seen it in person, so I definitely want to go back. I want to ride Battle of the Ministry undoubtedly. I talked to a couple of team members that told me that ride makes Monsters Unchained look like Child's Play. I don't know if my mind can really wrap around that. That's what they told me, but I have heard nothing but great things about that ride. And it's unknown during the upcoming previews for APs and hotel guests and those if that ride's going to be running. I know it has been running for some team members more toward late in the evening. So some of the higher ups and the managers I talked to, they had said that it was running for at least some of them. So I'm not really sure how many people have ridden it outside of the media, but I've heard nothing but great things. I definitely want to go back and try that. And I want to go back and explore more of all the lands without having the pressure of trying to ride everything or take it all in, and kind of maybe take more of my time in an extended time period when the park hopefully will be open until 9-10 o'clock at night on a regular basis. You could also say in Isle of Berk, I could see the wait times being pretty heavily going toward Hiccup's Wing Gliders and not as much at Fire Drill or Dragon Racers Rally. So you could see some higher wait times on that. So there may just be a little bit of unbalance in terms of the demand on some of the attractions and some of the lands, which lead to some higher wait times potentially. Again, a lot of this is just unknown at this point, because again, we were there. It wasn't not by any means a super busy park. But when it is fully open to the public, I do imagine it's going to be much busier, and that'll be interesting to see how the crowds flow, what the wait times look like, and all those other things that go into a theme park. Another thing I am curious about going into Celestial Park, having seen it, been in there, we are presuming there's going to be a nighttime fireworks show. I mean, they've been testing one. It's been teased in concept art in like a fountain show. Having been in there and how wide those walkways are, just how much space there is in there, I don't know how much of a big deal it's going to be to try and like get a spot for the fireworks. Like, if you've ever been in Magic Kingdom around Happily Ever After, that can be a nightmare. The hub is completely full. In this park, I think for the most part, you should be able to see the fireworks show basically anywhere in Celestial Park. I mean, even in some of the lands, you're going to be able to see it from an angle. So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to become a thing. There's plenty and tons of seating around the fountain, which I think that's where most people will probably sit to watch that show, presuming that they have one at night every night. I don't know if that will be a necessity to get a spot for it, whereas you could probably just come out of a portal, be somewhere in Celestial Park, and still be able to see it very well. We'll have to wait and see on that one, but that was kind of one of my thoughts I had on there was the fireworks situation could be much different than typically you may find in a theme park. I'm sure it'll still be busy in there with people standing around, but again, they have very wide walkways, lots of space to maneuver, and there's plenty of areas in which they can put people around the fountain and other areas that wouldn't impede on you going into portals. So I think that could be an asset to this park if you don't care about the fireworks show or you want to go ride attractions. Unlike, say, at Magic Kingdom, if you're trying to get to other areas, sometimes that can be very difficult to maneuver, especially if you have like a stroller and you've got kids. I don't know if that will be as much of an issue in this park. So I suppose that could be a plus on that potentially. So coming away of it, I think my 3 favorite rides would be Monsters Unchained, Minecart Madness, and honestly, Hiccup Wing Gliders. I really enjoyed Hiccup's Wing Gliders, so I think those would be my 3 favorite attractions. The ones I would say are just okay, not my favorite. Yoshi's Adventure, that's for kids and families. It's fine, but it's not something that I myself would do again outside of going with our kids on it. And probably, I don't know this, Fire Drill, I'm assuming it may be one. I haven't ridden it yet. I do want to do that. But again, that's kind of for families and little kids for the most part to, maybe not necessarily, kids in general to go, spray water on each other and get soaked. And then the other one I probably would say, Dragon Racers Rally, it's not like I said, it's not a bad ride. It's just I don't think that ride is going to be worth very high wait times. And I think this one is going to get pretty decent wait times just due to the fact that it is a low capacity ride and very slow loading and unloading. Yeah, I mean, that was basically our day. Again, I want to go back. I want to check out more things. I want to spend more time in this park. I want to see this park at night. But my first impressions were I was very impressed. It lived up to my expectations. I had a great time. The day flew by. It really, I mean, by the time we left, I was just like, I felt like we'd only been there for like 3 hours. We were literally there from 9 a.m. just about until 7 o'clock at night. So full day's worth there and could have spent longer. I really would have. I definitely want to try more of the food options, try some of the bars and some of the drinks and things like that. Overall though, had a great time. Definitely want to come back. And it really does apply to a lot of age groups. I mean, our kids are under 10 years old. There's a lot of aspects of this park that they will thoroughly enjoy. And that is something that Universal hasn't always had. So I think that's an asset to them with this park it's a good balance, I think, between you've got the thrilling attractions and you also have things for kids and families. And you got some stuff in the middle there. So it's got a good balance. And again, they're just going to add on to this park into the future. So I think it's a great start to a theme park. It's a fantastic foundation. And as they add more things in here, it's only going to make this park better. As long as those attractions are good, but I have no doubt to believe that it won't be. So I think it's a great opening to a theme park. First theme park I've ever been to, seen being built since I've been covering theme parks on this scale. So it was a very cool experience to be able to see it from the construction to being a basically almost finished product and be able to check it out. Again, I think the biggest complaint I've seen people talk about are the sight lines and the buildings that you can see. All I can speak of, to me personally, none of that bothered me. It didn't affect my experience. And I feel like each land has so many various things it offers that are different from the other lands that they're very much their own unique experience. And that was something I thought was really cool. And you do feel immersed when you are in there. The theming on there is great in all the lands and all the portals. And in the future, I will do more of a detailed breakdown perhaps of each land and what I like, what I don't like. But just overall, just want to do a first impression, spoiler-free about this park. And it lived up to the hype. I loved every second of it. I can't wait to go back. And I think you guys are going to have a great time at this park if you're looking to go here. But either way, that is going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And in the comments, let me know if you've been here, what you thought, and if you have any questions about this park, I will do my best to answer them. And until next time, we will see you in the parks.